What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Riot designs a ton of abilities for different champions in the game, but sometimes they kinda just don't end up suiting the champion, or maybe they're just too awkward to be used properly by the players. It's always interesting for me to research champions and how they were developed, and this leads to finding a lot about really cool parts of champions that just never saw the light of day and didn't make it into the game. It's super fun for me to think about how different a champion would be if a particular ability never got scrapped, so once again we've done another compilation for some super interesting ones to share with you guys, and as always in our compilation videos, this is the best of the best, so I hope you guys enjoy. And as always, if you guys like the video, definitely hit that like button, and if you don't, hit that dislike, because if this video hits 10,000 likes, I'm buying myself a pizza. Yum. The first ability we're talking about today is something that was scrapped while Riot was developing Sion's rework. One of the versions of his Q at the time would actually create new terrain, kind of like a little section of Jarvan's wall almost, just as like a curved section, and you could use it to lock people into getting hit by the rest of the effect. The problem with it is that when you could position it properly, it felt really good to use and was really powerful, but if you were inexperienced with Sion, then it was really difficult to use and ended up feeling totally the opposite and was incredibly unsatisfying to play with. It had a really high skill cap to use it properly, and Riot wanted to make sure that Sion felt really accessible to most players, because at the time before his rework he was already a fairly simplistic champion, so the idea was scrapped. One thing Riot did learn from the development of it though was that Sion really wanted some way to keep an enemy close by when he bashes them, and this is actually what led to Sion getting a slow on his E ability. Depending on how long the terrain remained on the ground, this could have led to some really cool playmaking potential, like perhaps stopping an enemy being able to get near your teammates by using it like an Anivia wall, which could have been pretty cool to see in Sion's kit, although it doesn't necessarily fit him from a thematic standpoint compared to how his Q is now. But still, we'd like to see some more terrain-based abilities in the game at some point because they allow for some awesome combos, like some Vayne condemns and all sorts of cool stuff. The next one is more like a scrapped version of a current ability, but it has changed a lot, and it's Diana's ultimate. This actually used to be essentially the same as her E, kind of, or at least it looked like her E, but it had a slight difference. It did absolutely insane area effect damage rather than just pulling enemies in. She would first channel and then still pull people in like her E does now, but after the channel effect, she would then deal true damage to everyone hit in the radius. Iron Stylus worked on the VFX for this ability before it became Moonfall, and he described it as a channel that darkened the surrounding area, where a projection of a crescent moon would turn into a full moon once it was channeled fully. When the channel was finished, Diana would shatter the area for a ton of true damage along with a resource she had at the time, which was called Scorn. And this ended up being one of the most powerful ultimate abilities in the entire game when it was tested, and it was so difficult to counter that Riot honestly didn't even try to balance it. They just reworked it completely and made sure that it didn't have any damage attached to it at all. Iron Stylus also attached his early Moonfall mockups, so it's super cool to see how the animation might have worked out. And you can definitely tell that they kept the same visual aspects for her E. And this probably would have been one of the most playstyle altering abilities out of our list on this video. Rather than being a single target assassin, this version of Moonfall would have turned her into some crazy engaged tank kind of champion almost, that would just destroy entire teams if she was given the chance. The third thing on our list is an ability that we actually don't know what champion it was for, but it maybe was a design for Jace's cancelled rework, although we're definitely not sure about that. That's probably just my best guess. Anyway, Riot Zephyrus described the ability to be almost like a submachine gun, where he worked on an ammo system and could hold down his Q to spam out shots in a rapid fire motion. The idea was that the more bullets you shot, the more erratic and random the firing arc and patterns became. So you could either use it in short accurate bursts, or just save up a ton of ammo, get into close range, and just unleash hell on someone. The bullets were about the same size as maybe an Ezreal Q, and it would also root you while you casted the ability, so it was kind of like a channel, I guess you could say. It's definitely a pretty interesting ability, but would probably be too hard to balance and end up being only used for one of the respective playstyles most of the time. We don't know if this ability actually was for Jace or not, and if it was, we don't know what the rest of his rework might have looked like, so it's kind of hard to figure out how it would work with some of his other abilities. It would definitely seem weird to rework him from a mobile bruiser to someone that maybe needs to stand still and fire shots off, so if we ever see this in the game, it'll probably just be on a brand new champion where it actually makes sense on them. Next up is kind of a weird one, and it was on Orianna. There once was a time where her ultimate was the last part of her kit that was still in design. The rest of her kit was all sorted out and ready to go, QWE and passive, but Riot really couldn't find an ultimate that felt right with that paper kit. One of the abilities they tried was to cause Orianna to actually spawn a second ball that you could move and control and use abilities with, like your QW and E, just the same, in addition to her primary one, so she would go around controlling 2 balls during the duration of the ultimate. Riot Zephyrus stated that this ability made her way too complicated, especially when you think about how complicated Orianna kind of is already, so the ability ended up being scrapped completely. Orianna's challenging to play when you're getting used to the weird ways her abilities interact, and having a second ball, honestly, it probably would have just made it way too crazy. Honestly, I can barely wrap my head around this thing would work. It's so complex when you think about it. Maybe you could choose between controlling your ultimate ball or your normal ball by toggling your R on and off after it was cast, and then your other abilities could be used on one ball at a time, or maybe it was like a Zed Shadow kind of, and it just literally moved both balls at the same time and doubled the effectiveness of all of the rest of your abilities. Either way, we can definitely see how much of a headache it would have been. So it's probably a good thing that Orianna received her Shockwave instead, and honestly, her Shockwave is a damn sweet ultimate. Shockwave's been a huge part of competitive League of Legends, especially for years, so it does seem like Riot made the right decision with this one. Next is a scrapped ability that was actually the core design for a cancelled champion that we talked about in a previous video, the Shapeshifter. It's kind of like Empath's signature skill in Heroes of Newerth. I don't know if you guys know Heroes of Newerth. It's kind of an old game at this point. Anyway, I did briefly mention this ability in the previous video when I did talk about the Shapeshifter, but I wanted to bring it up again actually because now I have a much more clear and more sophisticated understanding of what the ability actually did. Anyway, using this ability would cause Shapeshifter to latch on to an allied champion, protecting them with your health bar. The rest of your abilities would revolve entirely around this mechanic. You wouldn't move around yourself, you just cling to the ally and send out a swarm of beetles that you could control around the map and attack with them. You basically work like a shield almost, giving your entire health bar to an ally, and once they took a certain amount of damage, you would fall off of them. The design was actually pretty insane and led to some awesome plays like maybe latching onto a friendly Shen and then teleporting across the map to turn a 2v2 into a 4v2 in seconds, letting you destroy just everything in a fight. And this champion design gets me really excited personally, and we're well overdue for a champion that just completely alters the way a game might be played. A release like this would probably break the meta wide open, but it does offer some pretty interesting takes on how you could play in League of Legends, so we're definitely happy to see Riot potentially try something crazy like this in the future, and who knows? Abathur from Heroes of the Storm is also another example of a really crazy hero design that could bring a lot of potential new strategies to League, but so far Riot hasn't been able to make it work, or they kind of just deemed it to be a playstyle that didn't have a place in League of Legends. For the next one, we're taking a look at the Alistar rework, which actually took place during or around beta, beginning of Season 1, I guess you could say. Most of you probably don't remember, and it wasn't a very big rework at all, so it's not really that important, but they did change a couple of his abilities, like his passive and some minor tweaks here and there, and at the time his ultimate was going to be made into an area of effect cleanse ability, but it was actually scrapped as Riot decided it would fit better on a different champion. It was actually considered for use during the Soraka rework as well too, or one of the Soraka reworks I guess you could say, but they wanted to keep her global heal as it was a huge part of her core identity, so it just ended up being scrapped on her as well. Honestly, we're pretty glad that Alistar got his trademark damage reduction ultimate instead. He's a big tanky, brawly, bull kind of character after all, and it definitely suits him way better in terms of his character than just randomly cleansing his teammates. The rest of his kit's made to initiate fights and peel, so being able to tower dive with his combo and then survive with his ultimate is a great synergy that makes Alistar super fun and unique as a support champion. Still, with the power of wombo combos through big area of effect crowd control effects in the game, it would be really cool to see a direct counter to that, like a direct counter to like an Amumu ult in the form of an area of effect cleanse in the future. So hopefully Riot will find a good spot for an ability like this one day on a new champion. Next up, we have an ability that comes from Riot J-Way, who gives us the original concept for Nami's E, and it might have been the most broken ability on this entire list actually, even though it's kind of simple, and it was a targeted spell shield. It worked pretty much the same as Sivir's spell shield, but could be put on a target like Morgana's black shield. So instead of just stopping some crowd control and some magic damage like Morgana, Nami would completely negate an ability on any member of her team at will. Pretty insane and not hard to see why it was scrapped considering how powerful Morgana's black shield already is. I mean, it's an insanely powerful ability because stopping crowd control effects can single-handedly decide whether a teammate can escape or get struck and killed, but a targeted spell shield on top of that would also be able to prevent a lot of damage, and damage that doesn't necessarily come from a magic damage source. Abilities like a Jinx ultimate that wouldn't actually be blocked by Black Shield could just be totally nullified by placing Nami's original E on whatever ally is about to tank the shot, and for a non-ultimate ability it would probably have quite a low cooldown. Timing would also be a huge part of using an ability like this effectively, but honestly it would just be too strong in the hands of an experienced player. And last up we have Yorick, and we actually talked a lot about him and his future rework in a couple of past abilities, but one ability that I actually didn't mention previously was a version of his old scrapped ultimate. Riot Zelnath stated that Yorick once had an ultimate for the design of his rework where he would summon a line of creeping hands out of the ground, rooting everyone in his path. This is pretty much basically just Zyra's E, especially in her haunted skin, but considering it was an ultimate instead of a basic ability, we can imagine it was almost like her E on steroids. Probably way more damage, way more range, a bigger radius, or perhaps an insane root duration. From a flavor perspective, this is actually pretty awesome for Yorick. He is the grave digger of League of Legends after all, so summoning corpses of the dead to lock down his enemies is a pretty sweet way to go about it. Zyra kind of does have a monopoly on the root all targets in a line design kind of mechanic for an ability now, but some kind of decent lockdown would go a long way into making Yorick a bit more viable. Hopefully we'll see at least some form of hard CC in Yorick's future rework, but who knows what's going to happen with him. Anyway, that wraps up our list of scrapped abilities for this compilation video for today. Make sure to let us know which one's your favorite in the comments section. My personal favorite is the Diana ability, and there's quite a lot of interesting design space in some of these abilities too, so do keep your eyes peeled in case they maybe show up in a future champion or in a future rework. Looks like that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.